Well, I would like to remind our viewers to, send us pictures, your selfies, showing you or your family, or you and your family watching the election results announcement on Channels Television. Remember, you can visit m.channelstv.com. Download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. And having done that, you send us your pictures or selfies by tapping on the application on your device, swipe to reveal the channel's eyewitness menu, and just follow the instructions. So we'll be expecting your pictures of you or your family, or you and your family watching Channels Television, most probably the election results. Well, we have one of such selfies to demonstrate to you what we'll be expecting from you. Maybe our guys in the MCR will just show one of such selfies just for you to have a clear perspective. Well, that's the picture of that family gathered, well, quite a number of them, gathered in their sitting room and watching Channels Television at this range. You can also see the young man there following the elections on his mobile device. He was actually watching and collating results. But all over the country, you can see people glued to their TV sets. Those look like people from either the southwest or from the north. But look at them there, watching Channels Television. That young man in front of his own TV screen. Well, there you have it. A group of friends as well. So we'll be expecting selfies like this from you. Well, this is actually takes place in a restaurant. This one also in the sitting room of a family. And you also have a television set in the background there. Channels Television showing the election results. We've had many of them coming in, and those are the ones you can see on your screens that we expect you to send to us. Well, 2 TV screens there, or maybe one a computer screen, the other one a regular television screen. Both.
I like the picture of the huge family.
The first one that we saw.
Super nuclear family. Well, the question I wanted to ask that we didn't have time to ask Kingsley was what will the result of the elections and the conduct do for the bilateral relations between the U.S. and Nigeria? Because and I'm asking this
maybe Professor Akpanubong
yes.
should
especially in light of the statement that was
released. The 2 dominant parties in the elections, them either retaining power or changing power to the other one, will have a more, what kind of relationship will the U.S. be looking for? Because obviously it's different strokes for different folks.
Well, this is an interesting question because when President Obama sent the message to Nigerians, the reaction was kind of divisive. On one hand, a lot of Nigerians said, well, what right does he have to tell us what to do and what not to do? And some people took exception with this reference to the slogan during the Civil War.
Nigeria won.
Yeah,
is a task that must be done.
Exactly. So people took exception. So so it's interesting that you're raising that question right now because Nigerians have a tendency to believe that they are independent, but a tendency to believe that other countries can't tell them what to do and what not to do. But they also forget the fact that we are in a globalized world, that we are interdependent with other countries. So for that reason, President Obama had the right to tell us, just give us some big brotherly advice on how to behave. And so the United States, as well as other countries, are interested in the outcome of this process. They're interested in seeing that, one, it's a free and fair process. And so far, it seems it's free and fair, and that the results will emerge and not end up like June 12th and all of that, because when there's peace in one country, there's peace in other country. If Nigeria breaks up and there's violence, all kinds of things, those will have a rippling effect that will have, touch other countries. So sometimes when other countries are interested in Nigeria, not so much because they love Nigeria, but because the fate of Nigeria and Nigerians will also affect their own fate. And
I'm also talking about the trade relations.
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
previous agreement signed. The Jonathan administration has gone into a lot of agreements, bilateral agreements with some people. And there's the fear, and that's what stops investor confidence that, okay, if this administration goes, people that are coming in, they're not going to honor or carry on.
Yeah, but the thing is that
may not have the same level of confidence in another president.
But the thing is that treaties are signed with governments, not necessarily with individuals. So, more or less, I mean, they're signed with governments, with the country, not so much so, because when treaties, agreements, and whatever are reached, there's the understanding that whoever is at the leadership will not be there by the expiration of that treaty or whatever the agreement was. And there's that. And then, of course, there's also the sense that whoever is the head of state has his or her own personal preferences for certain countries or for certain policies, has different priorities. So there's also that understanding. But I don't think there's going to be a concern that if there's a change right now, that certain treaties will be broken just because somebody else comes in, or if this person continues, certain things will be affected. I don't think that is a concern. I think, well, of course, other countries will want to feel comfortable with whoever is in charge here. But I think the concern is mostly about this process not resolving into a crisis.
And I mean, referencing that, the United States and the UK did something today that I think is actually unprecedented, at least as far as I know. I don't know at any time where these countries have actually publicly made a comment during the count of an election. They normally would talk before an election, and then after an election has finished to say, the conduct was good, we liked it, we didn't like it, or whatever. But for the first time, we actually got a statement in which they made a specific reference to the concerns they had about the collation process, and said they hoped that there was not going to be any attempt to subvert the will of the people. I think that is significant because I think their interest lies in trying to, from their perspective, ensure that democratic processes are entrenched. And you're absolutely right, because when you think in terms of trade, America, we used to have a relationship in which we sold them oil. Since shale gas came, of course, they don't take our oil anymore. So that relationship is we're no longer as key, perhaps, as we used to be to them from a strategic point of view because of the fact that we have oil. But what remains is that we are the biggest black country in the world with a population of 150 million people. Anything that happens to us is going to impact first on the region and probably the rest of the continent. So they don't take the possibility of trouble here very lightly, because one way or the other, it will impact them. If you look at the numbers of Nigerians living abroad, for example, with families here, chances are they will take some refugees to begin with, because all of us will ship ourselves
and then
over
of
there.
course,
well, sorry, Prof.
Yeah.
At this point, we would like to take a very quick break, and when we return, we will continue the conversation. Interesting as it's getting.